the another exciting episode of our postcard series, College to Corporate Season 2, Episode 5. We have a very special guest joining us. He's not just an expert in the field of law, but he's a great chartered accountant, and he is the one of the best dignitaries in our country, and he's being a president to an ICIA firm. So we welcome you, sir, Dr. Amarjit Chopra, sir. It's truly honor to have you, sir, on the show today. Your insights and the expertise have not only transformed the landscapes, but also inspired the countless individual aspiring to make a difference in this field. Can we move towards the questions, sir?
Yeah, please.
So looking back at your career as a chartered accountant, what were some of the key challenges you faced and how did they shape your professional journey?
Janvi, let me first begin on a note of thanks to you and of course ICFI Business School, Mumbai, for providing this opportunity to share some of my thoughts with the students, and particularly to you because I think you have been following it up. See, so far as the challenges are concerned, let me put it this way, that I'm a chartered accountant by destiny. It is a sheer luck that I'm a chartered accountant. Till higher secondary, that is my 11th class, I was a science student. I didn't do well in higher secondary, let me put it that way, as a science student. All my other family members, my brothers, my jijas, they are all engineers. My son is an engineer. My nephews are engineers. Some of our daughters-in-laws are engineers. I'm the odd man out. Since I didn't do well in higher secondary, so I had no choice but to go in for commerce. But that has been the greatest blessing in disguise for me in my life. So my first lesson to all the students is never take a failure as a failure. Probably the God has got something much bigger in store for you. He is willing that you should get into some other areas or do something else to excel. And I think having said that, once I joined as a commerce student in my BCom, then I went on to do MCom and CA simultaneously, CA in the daytime and MCom in the evening from Delhi University. The greatest challenge to do CA itself was, number one, you were really scared that the percentage of result was 3 to 4% in our times.
Yeah.
But that was a challenge in itself. But you take up these things as challenges and you need not be scared of that, basically. What you have to plan is how you can get over it and how you can actually succeed despite all these odds. So one planned the studies in a manner that one was regular in studies. It was not that just before the examination one would study, maybe for 1 month or 2 months. One may study for an hour, one may study for 2 hours. Yeah, one may study for 2 hours every day, but one would definitely study and finish off something or the other of a chapter. Because as I said, I was doing MCom and CA simultaneously. Luckily, in our firm from where I was doing the training, there were 2 holidays. Saturday and Sunday were off. So one day I will devote to MCom studies, one day I will devote to CA studies. I didn't find it difficult to complete CA. Of course, getting a seat for articles was a problem in our period. Today, getting an article seat is not an issue, except in the Big Four. And never times it was difficult. And having done CA, one really came across that probably the kind of opportunities which are there today, those opportunities were not there. That was the biggest challenge. Going for practice or you want to go in for a job, because in the family, as I said, everyone else was an engineer and were in the jobs basically. But one opted for a practice, and opted for practice in the sense that it was a partnership firm. I will only tell everyone today or every student that if you want to even start take up a startup, do it in partnership with somebody, because one and one are not two, one and one are 11. The kind of ideas that you get from the other person are absolutely different. And the partnership should be treated as a matrimony. At least I treat it as a matrimony, that when you marry somebody, you don't start with the feeling of divorcing. You start with a feeling that you have to carry it out in your lifetime, basically. Yeah. And one did. My first partnership lasted 32 years, very frankly.
That's
and after that, after that, today also the other partnership continues. We 7 partners came out together, and 2 were left back because son of one of the partners had qualified. So that became a reason for parting. But what I will say is the challenge was the number of opportunities. But today those opportunities are enormous, if you ask me. And since I belong to a service class family, for me, getting into practice was an issue because no one was having that kind of an experience. The good thing was that in CA, you don't require too much of capital to be invested in an office. At that time, even the offices were not very, very modern, and the investment was absolutely minimal. So what I can say is that the main challenge was, before doing chartered accountancy, getting an article. Having got into the articles, the challenge was to qualify with a percentage of 3 to 4%, but that challenge I could succeed. I could overcome without much of a do. And after qualifying, the challenge was what to do. And I think that's always a challenge for any student. Once the students also qualify, they will have to decide as to what is to be done. Today, any student will like to get into a startup. Join some chartered accountant firm, join some industry, join something else for that matter. So I think overall, it has been a good journey. Challenges do come, and challenges have to be overcome for that matter. Challenges are not there for the lifetime. The only thing is, to all the students, I will use one word, and that is my lesson that I can give. Have a passion. Whatever you do in your life, do it with passion. Because when you are doing it with passion, you never feel tired. When you do it for the sake of doing, you feel tired. I always give an example of, look at Kapil Dev when he started his career. Kapil Dev had passion, and that is why he succeeded. But if you look at towards his end of the career, he was only working that he should get 434 wickets so that he can break Hadley's record. So that passion was missing. That passion was missing at that stage, and that is why he could not take his game to that level which he was able to do earlier on. Today, you look at it, the kind of passion Kohli has, Virat Kohli has. No other cricketer has got that kind of passion. He may fail, he may do anything. If whether he's fielding, he's batting, the wicket is taken by someone else, but he's jumping more. Because to him, the cricket is a life, it is a way of life. So I think whatever you do in your life, whatever profession you choose, whether you get into job or you do your own work, but be passionate about it. Because if you will be passionate about it, you will keep dreaming about it. And when you keep dreaming about it, because I can tell you, some of the greatest innovations have come out of the most stupid thoughts that the people had, basically, in their lives. So please have that kind of a feeling. That's all I will like to say.
This lesson would really help us a lot, sir. Coming back, could you share some memorable moment from your tenure as the chairman of National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards and the implementation of Indian accounting standards in India?
You see, so far as the memorable moment is concerned, I personally feel whenever the history of accounting would be written, it would be said that National Advisory Committee of Accounting Standards in India in this particular year came up with the idea of Ind AS, and the chairman of the National Advisory Committee of Accounting Standards was Mr. Chopra. So that becomes a memorable event in itself. Because when I was the president of the institute was entrusted with the responsibility that particular year that you should come up with the Ind AS. And the industry never believed in our ability that we'll be able to come up with that. But we did it. And thanks to my chairman of the Accounting Standard Board at that particular point of time, Mr. Manoj Fadnis, who went on to become the president. In the year I took over as the chairman of the National Advisory Committee of Accounting Standards. So what I am trying to say is, the industry never believed it, but we did it, even when I was the president of the institute, and we came up with the Ind AS. But the industry didn't want it. And the industry saw to it with the government that it was not implemented in that year. Mr. Manmohan Singh had announced that they will implement it effective 1/4/2011. But when Mr. Arun Jaitley came in as the finance minister in 2014, the one-line statement he made in the budget was, in the first budget of BJP government, that we will implement Ind AS effective 1/4/2016. That was, and then I was entrusted with the responsibility of chairing this National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards. So that was a memorable moment for me, getting into the chair and then making sure that we are able to implement. And the other best thing that could have happened was that world over, the pressure on us was that we should adopt the IFRS as it is, International Financial Reporting Standards as it is. But we said, no, we will not adopt those as it is. If our industry faces certain problems in certain standards, or if these are not good for our country, we will have some carve-outs in relation thereto. Even if the world says that we are not fully compliant, we don't bother. But we cannot sacrifice the interests of our own industry and the country for that matter. And after all, we are not subservient to somebody. Simply because IASB, the International Accounting Standard Board says, no, this is the best standard, we should adopt it. No. I think there are challenges. Even Europe, when you look at IAS 39, Europe had not adopted IAS 39. And they adopted in a very fractured manner, basically. Simply, and people believe that China and other countries have actually adopted IFRS. I think this is a myth. This is one of the biggest myths. They have not done it, very frankly. So why should we do it? So we came up with some carve-outs. Now those carve-outs are being eliminated now, because as we mature enough, as we keep maturing in the implementation of the Ind AS, we'll definitely do with some of the carve-outs wherever it is desirable. So I think that was another very important thing which happened as the chair of the National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards.
So this is a very big thing, sir.
You need to have for this only I will like to say, Janvi, that you need to have a courage of conviction, and you should learn to say no to even the people who may matter. Because if you keep on accepting everything, then you have lost your own identity. I think you need to retain your own identity under all circumstances. Whether these are the happy times or bad times, you must retain your identity. And if you are able to retain your own identity, I think you will always succeed. That's the most important thing in life.
This I will remember all my life, sir. I will mark your work.
Yeah. Thank you.
As the president of ICI, you played a vital role in the accounting profession. What were some of the most significant initiatives or changes during your term?
I can share few of those. May not be able to get into every change that one affected.
Yeah.
I have
like
been
some
very
of the-
passionate. I have been very passionate about students, very frankly. As I have been a teacher, so I have been very passionate, and I personally feel there are three individuals in your life who want you to outgrow themselves. Two are your parents. Parents will like to see
Yes.
that you outgrow them. And the third one is your guru, basically your teacher, who wants that his student should be able to do much better than him or her, for that matter. So I personally feel that my passion or my passion for or my being passionate for the students, I brought in some changes. The first was that in our case, after every exam, the suggested answers were always brought out. Now, those suggested answers were brought out after the results were out. I said, no. You must bring out those suggested answers much before the results are out so that student can read them and can make out whether he will succeed or will not succeed. And if he feels that he will not succeed, let him start preparing for the next exam itself. So we succeeded in doing it. Then we revised the entire study material of the intermediate course in that particular year. And also we introduced at that time, which were of course discontinued later on by some other president, but now they have restarted it. But that thought process was that we must start classes for our own students, the distant learning education basically, through the virtual mode. And on 5th January 2011, we did start some virtual classes for the CPT students. Because I personally feel that the institute has an obligation towards the student to teach them. Why should there be a mushroom growth of the private tutors outside? And they charge them exorbitantly, whereas the institute can charge them very nominally. And today it is happening, if you really ask me. So I'm so happy that that
institute provides some pen drives also.
Yeah. So I'm so
Recorded
happy to see
lectures.
now. Yeah. So I'm so happy to see that my dream of holding the classes for the student is fulfilled. Then there were a number of, and then I resolved in the very first council meeting that come what may, we will not increase even a single penny fee of the students under any circumstances. And we maintain that word. Because the students, we may say that the CA course is economical, but at the same time, the students spend a lot of amount on the private tuitions, basically. What you can say, the coaching classes. So I said, nothing doing, will not increase the fee of the students under any circumstances. And the other thing was that we suggested to the government that the stipend of the student should be revised double. Whatever was there, which of course took 2 years before the government actually revised it, or 3 years before the government revised it. But the council resolved and sent it to the government for revision of the stipend. Now, another thing that one really did for the membership at large was that there were a lot of complaints that there were reports which were being signed or which were being forged. The signatures of some of the members were being forged by the people who are not in practice or some other unscrupulous people. Now, one introduced the scheme of Udin on a recommendatory basis, which is the unique document identification number. And we did the trial run, and we did actually succeed in that trial run. And during that particular period, I think few, maybe 40,000 or 50,000 of urines were generated that particular year, which gave the document a very unique identification number. And now, if you ask me, after about 8 or 9 years thereof, now Udin has become the order of the day. The government is making use of it, that whether it has been signed by the right person or not, or the banks are even using it for the purpose of finding out whether it has been signed by. So the idea was thrown out. And the other things that one did basically was with regard to, we had laid down the Kanpur, our Kanpur, where the regional office is there, didn't have its own building. So we came up with the plot from the government. And in Vishwasnagar in Delhi, not in Vishwasnagar, in Rohini in Delhi, we bought a particular plot of land so that it can be developed into a, the building can be constructed and it can be converted into even reading room for the students or the member or some other office. Besides this, there were certain other things. One is very important, and that was e-Sahayata. We introduced that e-Sahayata scheme because there were a lot of complaints that the phones were not picked up in the institute, or some other things were not happening. The members were not getting the response from the staff, or the students were not getting the response from the staff. One introduced e-Sahayata scheme. And in e-Sahayata, we only said that two questions cannot be asked by you. One is with regard to disciplinary matters, and other is with regard to the examination. And examination, the only thing that you cannot ask is why I failed, basically, or why I passed. Barring that, you can ask anything. That's not an issue. And President Office was monitoring that on a daily basis, and any query or any question which was not settled, any issue which was not resolved within a period of 48 hours, it will come to the president level and it will be escalated to the next level. And one really came across a situation where maximum number of complaints were resolved. E-Sahayata was really an instant success. And I must give a lot of credit to what Mr. Sanjay Agrawal, a new council member at that time, who helped in building that particular model in that particular period. So what one can really say is that there were certain initiatives taken for the sake of the members. And of course, there were certain developments in C&AG, which despite a lot of opposition from council and certain members, but which were ultimately to benefit the profession, one took up with the C&AG and got it implemented. So what one is trying to say is that you require some, and of course, India's, as I said, we work toward towards the India's disciplinary matters also. Satyam was one of the major issues at that particular point of time. And PwC had taken a stay. And I had taken a vote that before I actually vacate my office as the president, I will see to it that the stay from the court is vacated. And before I really vacated my office, I got the stay vacated, and in the next 6 months, the action was taken against the culprits, basically. I will not use the word culprits, and against the professionals whosoever had actually professionally misconducted themselves. So what one is saying is that, yes, there are areas where you can work upon. There were many other areas that one could have worked upon. And I may not have enumerated. And one of the major things that we did in that particular year was the CA Benevolent Fund. Through CA Benevolent Fund, we give to the people who are in need. When I say people, the CA families, basically.
CA families.
And that particular year, we collected 2.52 lakh rupees, if I'm not mistaken, and disbursed about 1.94 crore rupees to the various members. That has been one of the major achievements that one had in that particular year, because I personally thought that
incredible work you have done, sir.
So, but then God has been very kind. That, of course, there were other administrative issues which one could take care of. There were certain other infrastructure issues that one could take care of. There were certain other professional issues that one could take care of. But as you said that I must highlight few of the issues, I have tried to highlight few of the issues.
Sir, you have served numerous committees and boards throughout your career. Can you highlight one specific committee or a board experience that was particularly influential or rewarding?
I must say my experience in two of the boards particularly. One was the Bank of Baroda and the other has been the Tata Power Delhi Distribution, which have been very, very rewarding. Both as being a member on the board as well as audit committee chairman. And of course, there have been certain moments in Rico Auto Industries which have been very, very exciting and very delightful, where one has felt that one has been able to contribute professionally to those committees and to the board. One thing that I would like to tell the students is that holding you see, why I'm saying this is that when I was in Bank of Baroda, I was on the board of Indian Bank also. But I personally feel my contribution in Bank of Baroda was much higher because people probably were more receptive there compared to the others. And one great, I think one tenure which I enjoyed the most was with Garden Shipbuilders, basically a government company which manufactures small ships in Kolkata. When one went there, they used to produce the accounts on an annual basis. And when one left there, it was still an unlisted company, but one made sure that the accounts were generated on a quarterly basis. And not only that, there was a lot of improvement affected in the records of the generation of scrap and the disposal of scrap. So I think wherever you go, you have to go with firstly, you have to go with an open mind. You can't think that everyone else is not contributing. Everyone else contributes, very frankly. And the other thing is that you have to make yourself acceptable to the others. You can't act in an arrogant manner under any circumstances. You may belong to a different field, others belong to the different field. You have to accept their viewpoint, you have to get your viewpoint accepted. And when I say you have to work with an open mind, it's basically with a view that if either you convince or get convinced, there cannot be a situation that you will neither convince nor you will get convinced. You should not sit on false committees or any of the boards that because you have said it, that is why it is correct. You can be wrong also. Or if not wrong, at least your viewpoint could be inferior to someone else's viewpoint. Someone might be making a better suggestion than you. Please accept that suggestion. Where is the problem? Most of us tend to, when we acquire certain positions, we tend to ignore the other's viewpoint. I think even the junior most in the hierarchy in your office can give you some point more practical than what you hold as. So it is always good to be a good speaker, but it is much better to be a good listener, because when you able to contribute well, you are able a humble person may be very strong, very firm, very determined. Use the relationship far more than the others do it. I think that's the point that I would like to make out.
So, sir, being a faculty in numerous countries, you had a global perspective on accounting and auditing. What were some interesting insights or the differences you have been observed in accounting practices worldwide?
Janvi, that being a faculty, I have experienced one thing, that Indian accounting profession is ahead of many other countries. There could be very, very few countries. I may be able to count them on fingertips where they can be considered to be more advanced than us. I think our accounting profession is as good as anyone else. The problem with our accounting profession in India today is that probably implementation is comparatively weak. We need to be more self-introspective, and we need to make sure that whatever we say in theory, that's implemented also. Countries like US or countries like UK, I think the implementation of accounting standard is far more stringent than in our case. So that's one difference that I am able to make out. So far as the governance levels are concerned, the basic difference in governance level there is, because I've spoken a lot on governance basically in different countries. One basic difference which is there is that here judicial system is too weak. If somebody misgoverns, defrauds, it takes years together to catch hold of him. Whereas in the other countries, if you do something wrong, you cannot be allowed to get scot-free. You look at Singapore, even if the son of the prime minister is caught, he cannot get away with it under any circumstances.
Yeah.
I think the judicial system, we need judicial reforms basically. We have many laws. I have always maintained one thing, that India is one country with the maximum number of laws, with the least application of those laws, with the least implementation of those laws. India is the only country in the world where we have anti-dowry law, but maximum dowry deaths are in India for that. It is a classical example, if you ask me. So I think what is different in the other countries I have tried to bring out, it's the implementation. It is, you can say, the regulators there are much tougher, and that's not there in all the countries. That's there in probably UK and US are the two countries where they are very stringent about the implementation of the standards. But there also the frauds take place. It's not that the frauds have not taken place. Lehman Brothers didn't happen in India; it happened in US. Enron happened in US. Parmalat happened somewhere else. So what I can say is that it is not that in none of the countries the frauds occur. It's only here that the frauds occur. I think if you ask me in 2007, 2008, the maximum number of the banks which failed were not in India. In India, none of the banks failed. These were in Europe, that matter. So what is important to be noted is that governance levels in different countries are different. And of course, the pitfalls can be the same as in our country in different perspectives. But one good thing there is that once you are caught, you will not get away with it. I think that's the point that I would like to make out.
So, sir, you have been actively involved in education field, including your role as a faculty at Deshbandhu College. How has the teaching and mentoring influenced your professional outlook, and what advice you do have for aspiring accountants?
I will like to say only one thing, that when you are also in the practice and you are also teaching, you are able to deliver it better to the students. You are able to deliver it better because you talk practical to them. You see, if you read audit book theoretically, it may not give you much of interest. But if you give certain practical instances to the students, that's what happens where and how it happens,
it brings more interest.
I think it brings a different level of interest to the student. I have always tried wherever, only to the students, even when I give my lectures to the various chartered accountants or world over for that matter, wherever I've talked of. I've been to Mauritius, I've been to Seychelles, I've been to Pakistan, I've been to, you can say, all and the entire Middle East, whether it has been Bahrain or it has been Doha or it has been Dubai, etc. One thing that has been very clear is that you have to talk practical. You cannot talk theory. Theory people have no interest because they can go and read the book. You have to give your lifetime examples. If I have to talk on governance, what I do as a committee member, what I do as a board member is very important. And where I have been able to get the changes affected, where there were weaknesses, people are interested to know that. People are not interested to say that, interested to know that, no, you can refine this, you can refine this, you can refine this. How you can refine this? How you have been able to refine it? I think that's very important. So what I would like to suggest to you is that to the entire students, When you read the book, even when the budget comes, very frankly, I can tell you, when the budget comes, I try to see why a particular provision in income tax has undergone a change. The government will not like to change it just for the heck of changing it. The government will change it because
Yes.
something wrong has happened there and they are trying to plug it. You see, there were
There
cases
is something
against
reason behind
Mayawati.
it.
There were cases against Mayawati where she was able to declare that she has got herself weighed and then has been gifted gold or money or whatever it is. The government was trying to plug those loopholes, but probably at times the perpetrators of the fraud are more smart than the government itself. That's also a factual position. The lawbreakers are ahead of the lawmakers. That you can be sure, because they keep thinking how the law can be broken. But then the lawmakers have to come up with these challenges, have to combat these challenges, and to make the law where at least the chance, you cannot eliminate the chances of fraud, but you can reduce the chances of wrongdoings, basically on the part of the various individuals.
So, sir, you have associated with educational institutions and teaching is noteworthy. How do you see the role of education in shaping the future of accounting and auditing?
I personally feel education, whether irrespective of accounting and auditing, whether it is medical or it is engineering or anywhere else, education has a tremendous role to play. But then we need to also ensure, I think the government, the accounting profession, that if certain education is of not much consequence, if certain topics are not of much consequence, those topics can be taken out. And the new topics which are of greater relevance today, like prevention of money laundering, black money law, is far more important. Forensic audit rather than statutory audit is more important, if you ask me. Internal audit is going to be one of the basic things to happen in the future. RERA, that is with regard to the real estate. I think these are some of the laws which the students need to read, or the education system has to undergo a change. Today, the problem is that at the university level, at the school level, the way the accounting standards should have been taught are not being taught. Our education system has to undergo a change. There has to be a backward and forward integration of the entire educational system. Whatever is required of a professional system, firstly, the theory in respect thereof should be taught at a lower level, at the school level or at the college level. And at professional level, I think it will be more of the practical aspect that should be taught. That forward and backward integration is missing in our country today. And I think that is where the reforms have to come in.
Yeah.
Some changes have come in, but I think many other changes are should take place.
So you had an extensive career with many achievements. Looking ahead, what do you see as the most critical issues or the trends in the accounting and auditing profession that needs attention?
I think as an auditor, earlier it was always said that we are not bloodhounds, we are only watchdogs. I may agree to one thing, that we are not bloodhounds. Kingston Cotton Mills case, I think centuries old case, it is no more relevant today.
Yeah.
We may not be bloodhounds, we may not bite somebody, but we may bark at least. We need to provide indications. We need to provide warning signals to somebody that what is going wrong and what is likely to go wrong. And for that, the accounting regulator as well as the members of the profession need to be vigilant. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs has brought out certain changes in the Schedule 3 as well as in the Caro reporting. And I can say with a lot of pride that one was the chairman of that committee which brought in those changes. But I think still we'll have to add more and more and more and more, because as I said to earlier that you cannot have a situation wherein you can eliminate the chances of the fraud. Because I personally feel a country where lakhs of crores of rupees, 7,50,000 crore rupees, 7.5 lakh crore rupees have been written off in the last 7-8 years as non-performing assets of this country. And if I look at the last 20 years, basically, I personally feel about 25 lakh crore rupees has been written off, which is too dangerous a sign. And if you ask me today, any case which goes to a national company law tribunal and gets settled there, the lender is losing about 70% of the due to him on an average. On an average, I am talking. The first case which got settled in Hyderabad, it was settled at only 6%, which means the lender got only 6% of what was due to them. So this is a danger signal. And there the accounting and auditing profession has to come to the forefront and try to see that the things are. I do not rule out the possibility of the business failures. But there is a difference between a business failure and a fraud. If there is a fraud, and if it is appearing on the face of it, basically, there I think the accountants and the auditors will have to play a far more vigilant role.
Sir, according to you, what are the emerging trends and the changes on the horizon of tax law and auditing, and what should the professionals prepare for them?
So far as the tax laws are concerned, all deductions will go away. Simple flat rate of tax will come in, because the government does not want an uncertainty with regard to the tax collection. If you have earned an X profit, you have may lower the tax rate as they have done in the recent times. I think that's the biggest trend. And of course, they will. One of the things that I can say is that today the kind of data the government has got is enormous, is mind-boggling, and you cannot get away with the kind of things which the corporates or the individuals used to do earlier. So I think these laws are going to be implemented far more stringently. You could see more of the demand. You could see more of the I can say cases coming up for evasion of the taxes. But then the residents, the citizens of the country will have to adjust themselves to the changing regime of tax. And I think they will have to be far, far more vigilant than what they have been in the past. But I am quite clear. Of course, one really feels bad that agricultural income is not being taxed. Agricultural income should have been taxed. After all, if we talk of equity, that if you also earn 10 rupees, I also earn 10 rupees, the tax paid should be the same. But if you say that agriculture is based upon the natural, is actually, it is hazardous to have agriculture because of the nature's vagaries, in that case, reduce the tax rate on the agricultural income. Don't levy 30%, but levy 10%, 15%. You don't want to levy any tax because jamidars are there in the parliament. You cannot have that kind of situation, and most of the politicians are owning the agricultural farms, basically. And one of the leaders had grown certain things in the gamlas itself, basically, pots, basically, and then shown it as agricultural income. That cannot happen. Why are you allowing black money to be converted into white through the agricultural income system? I think that's one thing that one will like to say. And so far as the accounting is concerned, auditing is concerned, I've already said that probably we need to be far more vigilant. And forensic audits will be the order of the day. Let me be very clear about it. Internal audit is going to be far, far more important than what it used to be earlier, for that matter. And there will be audits with regard to the prevention of money laundering transactions. There could be audits with regard to black money transactions. So I think the role of the auditing is going to become far more stringent than what it is today.
With your substantial experience, do you have any advice for young professionals aspiring to make a mark in the field of accounting and finance?
I can only tell them that they enjoy far greater opportunities today. The opportunities are only to be grabbed. In our times, where were the insurance companies? At least no private insurance company. Today, there are insurance companies are there in plenty. Today, even matches are insured. If the match does not take place, that is even insured. So every kind of insurance is there. But then there's a lot of chori in the mediclaim. That's also a fact. Earlier, it used to be third-party claims in respect of the vehicles.
Yes.
So what I can say is you are going to have tremendous scope in the insurance, banking, pension funds, and the stock market. Stock market is again an area, capital markets, which is booming. You will have insolvency laws, which are there. You have RERA, which is there. So the kind of opportunities that you have, we have never witnessed in our lifetime. And probably one feels so good today to see that youngsters have all got those kind of. The only thing that youngsters need to make sure is, and I'm sure that you know it better than me, that you need to study. Future is for those who basically change themselves according to the circumstances. Today, if you don't learn IT, you don't learn artificial intelligence, you can't survive. There is no way that you will be able to survive. People like us will continue to survive on WhatsApp and email, etc., etc. But people like you will not be able to survive on that. People like you will have to acquire the knowledge of the IT. You will have to acquire the knowledge of the cryptocurrencies, everything on the earth. Today, there is an explosion of data. If you ask me, through Google Baba, you can get any information on any topic.
Yes.
When you have to go and speak on certain topic, you just Google an article on this, and you will have plethora of those articles. Now you are at loss to choose which article to choose.
Now AI also has been introduced, ChatGPT and etc.
Yeah. So what I am trying to say is, future is for those who will be able to change themselves according to the circumstance, particularly to the technology. The kind of technology which is changing, the kind of developments which have taken place in technology, the kind of rapid developments which have taken place, I think one is awestruck by that. One could not think of those kind of changes in technology today. I have seen computers of what size, I don't know. These were used to be bigger than our dining tables. The computers used to be bigger than our dining tables. But today, you look at the size of the computers, you look at the size of the iPads, so you look at the size of the tablet. One chip can have the entire information. In my own mobile today, I've got almost 13,000 photographs. Wherever I go, because I'm very, actually, I'm very fond of taking photographs. So I keep on clicking time and again. So what is important for it is, where is EGFA? Where is Kodak? All those things are gone because they did not adapt themselves to changes. Had they adapted themselves to changes, it wouldn't have happened. Where is Nokia? Siemens in mobiles, basically, if you ask me. Today, there is iPhone and Samsung which have captured the market, or some other phones which have captured the market. Whereas when we begin in '97, when I purchased my mobile for the first time, it was Siemens with an antenna. And 16 rupees used to be the charge for the outgoing call and 8 rupees for the incoming call. Even if somebody used to ring up, you used to feel scared that I have to pick up the phone. That used to be the case. But you look at the changes which have taken place. I think my only advice to all of you is, and then lastly, I will say, be ethical. Be ethical.
That is more important.
Most important. If you want to build a nation, if you want to build a society, you have to be ethical. Unfortunately, we live in a world where a person can contest an election sitting in a jail. A person with the most heinous crimes, including of rape and murder, are given tickets also. And who will get it stopped? But your generation must get it stopped somewhere or the other. I always say that it is law, ethics cannot be codified. There can be things which are illegal and yet ethical. And there are things which are unethical and yet legal. The example which I have just given you. But on the other example, light. And he sees on the other side of the red light a person falling. He jumps the red light. It may be illegal, but man takes him to the hospital, saves his life. What can be more ethical than this? So what is more important is that you have to be ethical. Most important is you have to be ethical somewhere or the other, because ethics build a society, and ethics is something which comes from within. Which are your family values? Which are your social values? I think please stick to those. And lastly, I will give only one word, because I think last question also, Janvi, if I'm not mistaken. The last thing that I will say is there are two individuals in your life who are your living gods. When you go to a temple, what do you ask for? Give me this. You are always a beggar. We always have been beggars, basically. To temple, we are always beggar. And when we तो हम अंदर क्या करके आए? हमने भी मांगा ही है. Living gods whom we ignore at times, those are your parents. There cannot be a single person. I can bet it. I became chartered accountant because my mother would wake up at 2:30 in the night and prepare a cup of coffee or tea for me and give it to me. In the case of everyone. Law, is it there by any agreement that father has to feed you? Father has to earn for you? There's no agreement. But father will like to see that he goes by a bicycle, he goes by a scooter, but you get a car. Why?
Yeah.
He wants to make sure that you get the best of it. Why your mother should be waiting for you that the child will come and then he will get, he or she will get the hot food? Why? These are the two living gods. Your sister can compete with you. Your brother can compete with you. Your friends can compete with you. But these two individuals never compete with you.
These teachings will remain with us whole life, sir. Your these words will remain with us, and we will acknowledge this.
They want to see.
Your teachings are.
They want to see that you go higher and higher in your life. I think that's all I can tell you. Please respect them. They don't want money from you. They just want some affection, some love, and some regard from you. And that is where I would like to end up my entire talk today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the enlightening session. I had a lot of fun, and I'm sure the students will also learn a lot from this enlightful session. Thank you so much for your valuable time, sir. And thank you so much for your teachings that you have given to us. It will remain with us whole life, and your valuable time has more value for us.
And thank you, Janvi. I think, and then you made a request. So I only hope that it is of some positive value to you all, whatever I have said.
Yes, sir. It will bring a more positive value. It will add more positive value in our lives.
If you have any questions on the podcast video, please leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel for more such videos. Also, for more corporate insights, you can visit our Instagram page mentioned in the description below. Till then, stay tuned for the episode 6.